So during this portion of this breakout session, excuse me, I'm going to talk to you. I'm actually going to show you guys some examples of what my students did last year. So we actually paired up with some eighth graders. So I taught sixth grade, and we paired up with some eighth graders, and they worked together on a project. So the science standards that my kids were learning was about weathering, erosion, and deposition, whereas the eighth graders were working on um, impact and how these like floods and hurricanes and these big catastrophic events and the impacts that it can have and how they're caused. And so there was some crossover. And so what we did is we actually paired the sixth graders up with the eighth graders to see kind of what they could come up with and find similarities between their standards. So I'm going to go ahead and play both of these projects for you so you can see the differences. We did not give them a lot of limitations. We just told them, here's your project. You need to create a public service announcement. And so you'll see just how different they are, but how they both also got to the same point.
This video is about floods of the Ohio River. Landforms. Erosion of rocks in the Ohio River basin can lead to flooding. Deposition of sediments are added to other landforms that can also cause flooding. Processes. Precipitation falls quicker than the ground can absorb. This leads to water buildup, creating pools of water. Where floods can occur at river floodplains and coastal areas. One example is the Ohio River. Causes. Floods can be caused by heavy rains, overflowing rivers, melting snow and ice, and hurricanes. Effects. Some effects of floods are death, destruction of crops and property, and loss of livestock. How to predict. You can predict floods by past overflowing rivers, snow melt, and storm surges. For example, the Ohio River Basin. Long periods of rain take the time to flow water from city streets. As water reaches the Ohio River, the water starts to rise, and history shows significant bank erosion for 150 years in the Ohio River. Written by Kate Martis, edited by Caroline Massey, spoken by Rose Geller and Lauren Wagner.
Floods, an overflow of water that submerges dry land. They are caused by a combination of heavy rainfall and highly accelerated snowmelt. Here in Louisville, the most realistic cause of a flood is the overflowing of the Ohio River. Here, downtown and other areas along the river are especially hard hit by floods. For example, River Road was 6 feet underwater in 2019.
Floods cause standing water and sewage spills, which can lead to an increase in bacteria and disease. Floods also lead to the erosion of rock and dirt, which can reshape surrounding landforms. The erosion also leads to deposition, and where the dirt is carried and deposited into a new place. Like here, River Road floods, which disrupts transportation and leaves debris on the shore.
Thankfully, scientists can predict floods using several pieces of data. These include the amount of rainfall in a certain area and the duration and intensity of any storm that could cause a flood. This can give scientists a good idea of whether or not an area is in any danger of flooding anytime soon.
We mitigate the effects of floods by redirecting floodwater as well as using flood walls and floodgates to prevent water from reaching our homes.
Floods can be very dangerous, and it is important for us to know more about them. The real question is, will you be ready when a flood hits?